So I have this wonderful opportunity that I get to do once a month. I go to Woodland Village Retirement Center, and I'm able to go there and do a devotional time once a month, and it's a great time to gather. I've been doing this for some time now, and as I've done it more and more often, folks are getting used to me, and so we have lots of conversations that happen afterwards. But when I was there recently, I also heard, and I knew that they were going to do this, but I also heard that they now on Mondays are watching our worship services. Because of our online services now, the chaplain who's there sets it up so that they can on Monday gather together as a little congregation and listen and experience that worship together. And it was just great. And when I was there, when they were sharing this with me, several of them said how much they enjoyed our Pentecost service. They said that Pentecost service was just one of the best Pentecost services we've ever experienced. And, so I was sitting there and I'm taking it all in, and just like, it's always good to hear praise, right? And so you're just taking that all in. But as they were sharing what they loved about the service, the music, how beautiful the sanctuary looked, the lights that were here, and the visuals that were shared, and everything else that was going on, the way the sanctuary was adorned so beautifully, I got to thinking, there was an awful lot of folks that were involved in that service. If it wasn't for the people that were sitting behind these chairs in this tech booth, none of that would have happened. If it wasn't for the few folks who came in and adorned this sanctuary, none of that would have happened. There's so many people that worked behind the scenes to make sure that these ministries happen. And here, I'm the one up front, and I get to hear all the praise. I was thinking the same thing. Melanie had gone downstairs into the CE area, and she saw all the pre-setup that was going on for VBS that was coming up. And as she was looking at all this stuff and realizing all that needed to happen, and we've been talking about all the setup that has to happen in the sanctuary for that, and all the setup that needs to happen in all the different rooms to get it looking so nice and pretty, I realize most of you probably won't even see it. I mean, when you come to worship on the 26th, you're going to be able to see a lot that's in here, but you're not going to see all the people who are involved in making sure that happened. And that's the way it is with ministry. Those of us who are up front, we get to hear all the praise, we get to hear all the comments, but none of it would happen if it wasn't for those who were behind the scenes, who made sure it took place. Well, all that kind of got me to thinking about a portion of Scripture, and it actually appears in a couple different places. It's the place where the 12 apostles are named. There were lots of disciples, people who followed Jesus, but there were these 12 that were set aside and called apostles. And I was thinking about this as I looked at the list. This one is found in Mark chapter 3, beginning at verse 16. It says this: "So Jesus appointed the 12, Simon, to whom he gave the name Peter, James, son of Zebedee, and John his brother, and Andrew, and Philip, and Bartholomew, and Matthew, and Thomas, and James, son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus, and Simon the Cananean, and Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Jesus." I was looking at that list and I'm thinking, well, yeah, Simon Peter, we know him. James and John, we hear about them. Thomas, we know about, especially from John's gospel. Matthew, the tax collector, yeah, we know his name. But who's Bartholomew? James, son of Alphaeus. Thaddeus. Simon the Cananean. When we hear those names, one of the things that I realized is those 12 also had a pretty substantial ministry, but for whatever reason, they didn't make the book. Their stories didn't make Scripture, and so they're just kind of names now that we work through. There's another place in Acts where we see the same kind of thing when they were experiencing a struggle within the church, and they knew that they needed to reach out further into the community of those who were believers. And so they named 7 who became essentially the first deacons. And of that list, we know of Stephen, and perhaps you know the story of Philip, but the other names, Nicanor, Timon, Nicolatus, we don't know what they did. But I guarantee you this, they did something significant to do the work of ministry, even though we maybe didn't know their stories. And so perhaps the next time you're in worship or when you are watching the service online, or when you come in and see the decorations that have been set up for an event, or you see children who are coming upstairs from Sunday school that you didn't experience or see, think about all those people in our church who we don't really understand the ministry that they're doing. And make sure, if you see those people, to say thank you. Because it takes an awful lot of people to do the ministry that God has called us to. And thanks be to God, we have some wonderful people doing that.